todos bem-vindos ao Bíblia com Pupuna 2022.
Bible with Pupuna, a palm fruit from the local area. And want to invite you to celebrate with us in this fantastic celebration. All right, everyone on their feet with joy.
Sensacional, Bíblia com Pupuna, vou me alimentar, legal. Eu quero dizer que o Senhor é bom, sua paz entregou, prova desse amor, Ele fez Pupuna. É muito bom, muito bom, muito bom. E é muito bom, muito bom, muito bom. E é muito bom. Bíblia com Pupuna, coisa legal. Bíblia com Pupuna, que sinal. Bíblia com Pupuna, vou me alimentar, legal. Bíblia com Pupuna, que coisa legal. Bíblia com Pupuna, que sensacional. Eu quero dizer que o Senhor é bom, sua paz entregou, prova desse grande amor, Ele fez Pupuna, que é muito bom, que é muito bom, muito bom, muito bom, que é muito bom, muito bom, que é bom. Maravilhosa graça, teu amor que não falha, tomou o meu lugar, levou a minha cruz, teu sangue salvou, minha vida apagou, Jesus santo, por livre sou, maravilhosa graça, teu amor que não falha, tomou o meu lugar, levou a minha cruz, teu sangue me salvou, minha dívida pagou. Jesus, eu canto, porque eu de livre sou. Poder do pecado, seu amor é poderoso, o Rei da glória, o poderoso Deus. A terra treme, sua voz e nos deixa maravilhados, o Rei da glória, o poderoso Deus. Sua voz, cante bem forte. Maravilhosa graça, teu amor que não falha, tomou o meu lugar, levou a minha cruz, teu sangue me salvou, minha dívida pagou. Jesus, eu canto, porque eu de livre sou. e traz paz aos dos homens. És escudo aos indefesos, o Rei da glória, o poderoso Deus. Reina em justiça sobre as nações, a luz que brilha na escuridão, o Rei da glória, o poderoso Deus. Levante sua voz, cante bem forte. Maravilhosa graça, teu amor que não falha, tomou o meu lugar, levou a cruz, teu sangue salvou e a dívida pagou. Jesus, eu canto, de livre sou. Que a morte venceu, digno é o Cordeiro de Deus, digno é o Cordeiro que a morte venceu, digno é o Cordeiro de Deus, digno é o Cordeiro que a morte venceu, digno é o Cordeiro de Deus, digno é o Cordeiro que a morte venceu, digno é o Cordeiro de Deus, que a morte venceu, digno é o Cordeiro de Deus, digno é o Cordeiro que a morte venceu. Maravilhosa graça, teu amor que não falha, tomou o meu lugar, levou a minha cruz, teu sangue me salvou. Jesus, eu canto, porque eu de livre sou. Maravilhosa graça, o amor que não falha, o meu lugar, minha cruz, teu sangue me salvou, minha dívida pagou. Porque eu livre sou. Ok, você pode sentar.
Aê, é isso aí. E agora chegou o horário do nosso quiz da pupunha. Deixa eu perguntar aqui.
Who wants to win a
quem quer
prize?
ganhar um prêmio hoje? Quer ganhar
If you
algum
want,
brinde, algum tipo de brinde?
if you want a
Levanta a mão,
prize,
porque eu vou
then
fazer
raise your
algumas
hand.
perguntas também que não é de graça, hein?
Okay,
Vamos
I'm
lá.
going to choose some of the adults.
Tem uns adultos aqui.
Raise your hand if you're interested. If you want to win a prize, raise your hand. Raise your hand.
Adulto, levanta a mão.
I found one here.
Aqui, achei um aqui.
There you go. Stand up, please.
Aê,
Okay,
levanta aí,
look at the
levanta aí.
camera there.
Olha ali pra aquela
What's your
câmera
name?
de lá, deixa o pessoal te
Neto.
conhecer. Qual é o seu nome?
I have a question for
Neto,
you.
tem uma pergunta pra você. Valendo um brinde, hein?
Neto, what are the vitamins
Quais as
that are more
vitaminas
common
mais
in the
abundantes da
pupunha?
Vai ter
A,
alternativa. Letra A,
vitamins B12 and F.
vitamina B12,
B,
vitamina F,
vitamins A and C.
vitamina A,
Or letter C, vitamins D and E.
vitamina
What's
B,
A, B, or C?
letra A, B ou C.
Letter B. What's the right answer? That is the correct answer. There's your prize. All right, let's come over here now. All right, young people from 15 years older. Look at that camera over there, please. There you go. What's your name? Lucas.
Lucas, uma
Okay, this is for a small prize.
A madeira.
Hello.
Oi, oi.
The wood from the tree of the pupunha, the palm tree, is much used in letter A, for furniture, B, for chemical uses, or for
Resposta correta.
eating, edible. Okay, what is the correct answer? Is
Correta é a letra
A. Okay, you're going to get a consolation prize.
Não, parabéns.
Where are the kids here? You have children? From 4 to 11 years old. Okay, let's go over to that side. Let's go over there. Okay, raise your hands, raise your hand. Here we go.
Cadê aqui? Aqui.
Come here.
Você aqui, querido. Vem cá.
It's
vem cá,
you.
vem cá. Vem aqui.
What's your name?
Qual é o seu nome?
Little Charles.
Aquela câmera ali. Tem uma
I'm going to give you a
pra você.
simple question. This is a true or false.
Verdadeiro ou falso só, tá?
The tree of the pupunha is a palm tree that can be at least up to 20 meters tall and 10 to 25. He said it's true.
Verdadeiro.
That is true. A round of applause for him. Congratulations. All right, let's continue with our program for the evening. All right, stand up with me and with joy celebrate and praise our Lord.
Eu tenho paz, 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 paz. Eu tenho paz, 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 paz. Eu tenho paz, 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 paz. 2, 3, 4. Meu coração bem do coração. Eu tenho luz, 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 luz. 2, 3, 4. Meu coração bem dentro do meu coração. Eu tenho vida, vida, vida. Eu tenho vida, vida, vida. Eu tenho vida, vida. 2, 3, 4. Meu coração bem dentro do coração. Eu tenho Cristo, 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 Cristo. Eu tenho Cristo, Cristo. 2, 3, 4. Meu coração bem dentro do meu coração. Paz, 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 paz. Eu tenho paz, 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 paz. Eu tenho paz, 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 paz. 2, 3, 4. Meu coração bem dentro do meu coração. Meu coração bem dentro do meu coração. Você pode sentar.
E agora, nós temos um convidado muito
Special
especial
guest to interview. He's known as the theologian of the tennis shoes. I think you already know him. He's a specialist in the Bible, and he's a specialist in pupunha, the palm fruit. Pastor David. Welcome, Pastor David. Good evening. All right. Pastor David, you're very welcome It's great to have you and to receive you here. Oh, it's a pleasure to be here with church. This is one of my favorite nights. It's been a while since we had a Pupuna and Bible night. I was skinny back then, Lord. I've eaten too much Pupuna since then. I like these cups. Oh, personalized. I'm going to take one. Yeah, I'd like one too. All right, Pastor. I have a few questions. They're not a whole lot, but because you're a specialist in Pupuna and in Bible, it's a very tasty fruit and also very common here in our region. What's the commonality between Bible and Bible? Well, Pupuna goes well with coffee. Do we have any coffee here? Moses, please come. Moses, there you go. There. That's a lot of elegance. Be careful not to fall. There you go. That's perfect, Moses. I'll give you 10% afterwards. Wow, that's great. Moses. That's top shelf. I'm going to have a little coffee. Was it you who made the coffee, Moses? Let me try it. No, it wasn't he. It was Arthur. It's hot. It's burning my tongue. Arthur is the one who likes hot coffee. Pardon me for the interruption, but I don't work without coffee. What is the relation that you see between the Bible and the Pupuna fruit? A lot of times, Junior, the world, even Christians, they make a distinction between the sacred and the secular, or you might say what has to do with the spiritual religion, church, is kind of in the church, in the temple. And in life, you live your life separate from your spiritual part. It's similar. Once something happened, a pastor of a church, evangelical church, he sold a stolen car to a friend of mine. A pastor shouldn't do that, but he did. And about 3 of my friends went with the man who was... they went to the pastor and they confronted him and they said, you did a shady deal, and now they've taken the car from him because it was a stolen car. How can you do that? And he answered, hey, Bible is in the church, and the business is outside, and he disassociated the two things. So this night shows us that just as the Pupuna, you eat on the street corner, you play ball, a street vendor shows up, you go to a friend's house and they have Pupuna, you eat and have a little coffee. So it's a very daily routine, and God wants the Bible to be part of our daily routine and our daily life, and not have a separation, not Bible and Pupuna separate, but together. So not secular and spiritual separate, but it's all part of our life. Very, very good, Pastor. I understand now. What's the origin from Pupuna, this great fruit? Where it's most common, and the origin is different. The origin is very close to here, actually. The scientists tell us that various factors that they try to find where it came from. We know that originally it came from the Garden of Eden, but after the catastrophe of the flood, so a lot of things changed, and There was sand where there hadn't been before. There was craters where there hadn't been. So things went from one place to another, and they showed up, even animals. So Pupuna, it was isolated in Amazonia, in Amazonas, in the Amazon basin, and especially in our region here toward Bolivia, in this belt between us and Bolivia. And from here, then it's been spreading. You know that the toucans, they love pupuna, and toucan eats the pupuna and then takes the seed, and it falls further on, and it goes spreading that way. So there are a number of rodents in the Amazon basin that also eat the pupuna, and they spread it. In fact, hunters know this, and they know that these rodents will wait underneath the trees, the pupuna trees, and they will eat it, and sometimes they swallow the seeds, and they plant it with fertilizer with it. So, and then you get these super pupunas like these. So now, today, we have pupuna even in Central America. It's spread that far. It's been spreading, and also in the northeast of Brazil. Now, in the northeast, it wasn't animals and birds. It was actually the northeastern people of Brazil. They ate it here. They tried it, and they liked it. And they used to eat it with brown sugar, and they loved it, and they took it. And they have all kinds of recipes over there. We know it's a delicious fruit, Pastor. And we see that it has this yellowish color. And where does this color from? It's almost an orange, isn't it? It's the beta-carotene. Beta-carotene is the precursor to vitamin A. Our body ingests. There's another fruit that has a lot of it, is the carrot. But actually, pupuna has a higher concentration of beta-carotene than the carrots, and our organism transforms beta-carotene into vitamin A. So God is so incredible the way He does things in specific. But this oil, I don't know if you've boiled pupuna, that there's a lot of oil that comes out. Actually, there's most of them have more oil than water. It's a special oil that actually facilitates our body in its to make the transformation from beta-carotene to vitamin A. So this oil is facilitates that in our body. I was reading this week that there are capsules that have beta-carotene that people can take. So if you have people here who like to lie in the sun and get suntan, and they say, "Oh, let me get cancer." But if they take these capsules of beta-carotene about 2 weeks before they get that sun going to the beach, so as beta-carotene, it also changes. It's very important to the skin. So the bronze or the suntan is much better if you take the beta-carotene beforehand. And I thought, instead of paying expensive for these capsules, why don't you just, before you go on vacation, you eat every day about 10 pupunas, and then you've taken care of the problem. And if you forget it, don't they have the instant tan? When I was a youth, there was a girl, and she loved suntan, and I was always very white. So when I went to her house, I would put on that instant tan. And I think if with pupuna, you could do the same thing, just smear it all over you. They say it's good for your eyesight too, right? It's important for your reproduction, for your cell reproduction, for antioxidants, and it's important for your skin, for your hair. This is fundamental. And because it has a lot of fiber, it's also a fruit of low calorie. If you're on a diet, it fills your belly and few calories. So it's great for people on a diet. It has a lot of fiber. and it's good because it has fiber to take away the cortisol from stress, and it's a great fruit. Also, in addition, it has magnesium, phosphorus, manganese, vitamin C, B1, 2, and 3, iron. It has palmitic acid. It's a antioxidant. It's an incredible fruit. If the government would have distributed pupunha to all of it has a lot of zinc too. And actually, I've already eaten about 3 here. Moses, and could I get some water? Thank you, Moses. Pastor, now, can I eat it directly from the tree, from the plant? I see a bunch there. You can eat it. This one is difficult to get out. Can I eat it from the tree? The animals eat it. That's true. Even the birds do, so yes, you can. But there's only one problem. There's an acid. There's an oxalic acid. This acid, for a lot of people, it gives it, it irritates the membrane of your tongue and all your system, your digestive system. Are you feeling it? A little tingling sensation, and actually all the way down, all the way until it comes out. It feels a tingling. It's not. It's better to boil it. When it heats up, when you boil it, it transforms this acid and takes away the There are a lot of people here who like pupunha, but some people may not know how to prepare it. Can you give us a recipe? How do you prepare pupunha? Pupunha is very, very easy. Wow. This is a great pupunha that I ate here. I ate one that it was just felt like cardboard, but this one is very good. Wow, whoever brought that is to be congratulated. So you get a pan and put the pupunhas inside and just cover it with water, and then put a little salt in it and put it on to boil about 50 minutes and let it cool. No, you don't need any oil? No, it has a lot of oil already in it. And secondly, if you're in a little hurry, then you can put it in a pressure cooker. A lot of people put it in a pressure cooker because it's a little quicker. So from when it first starts coming up to pressure, from then about 25 minutes, sometimes 20, depending on the size. Larger pupunhas take a little longer, maybe 30. About average is about 25 and under pressure, and it'll come out perfect. Also, I was experimenting with pupunha because I like to try different things. I discovered that I found out it can be very, very quick. It can be a fast food, so I tried preparing it in the microwave. Oh, I love microwave. I do an egg in 45 seconds. I do bacon in 1.5 minutes. I learned with my mom. My mom started using a microwave in 80 years old, and I learned with her. So I decided that I would try to prepare pupunha, and we can actually. You can prepare a pupunha very quickly. In fact, I saw that's not just decorative, right? That is a functional microwave. Here, let me show you. You get a pupunha, you get a fruit, and then just wash it, clean it up, and then you put it 15 seconds into the microwave. Yeah, very quick. Very quick. Yeah, save on gas. About 15 seconds. And whenever you're going to use microwave, I don't know if you know this, but you should back up. The radiation is not good for you. So always stand away. I'm going to Put it on 15 seconds. 15, 14, 9, 8. Life goes very quickly, doesn't it? Oh, I can already hear the smell. I can smell the smell. 0. Just look at this. And all of a sudden, there you go. Isn't that great? Wow. That's sensational. Yeah. Now, kids, I was just playing with you. This is a joke. And you might try this at home. And if you try that at home, your mom is going to spend 2 weeks 2 weeks cleaning the microwave because they'll explode in the microwave. So don't do this at home. There's a lot of beta-carotene in your microwave for weeks afterwards. So don't do this. It's just a joke. It's just a... If you're going to boil it, you can boil it. You can take the kernel out. You can take the seed out and put a little bit of water, and you can actually boil it for 2 minutes in the microwave, but without the seed, for 1 pupunha. So there is a technique, but I like the size of that pupunha. Maybe that was what Goliath used. Yeah, that's zero hunger. People say that pupunha is bad for you. Is there any side effects? Will it hurt me? No, there's no problem. No. It's a very healthy food, but it will hurt somebody. It won't hurt you. It will hurt the people who live with you. The efeitos. Yeah, look at the name, bacterias, gases. So my wife is going to suffer. Yeah, it's, tonight. Actually, it's a gas that's very strong because it has a lot of sulfur. From sulfur, all fruit have a little bit, but pupunha has a little more. So it's strong and doesn't dissipate quickly. You need a strong fan, exhaust fan. So today I've been eating pupunha all day. So we're going to pray for your wife. Maybe she should spend the night at her mom's house. I'll call her in just a bit here. Pastor, besides the fruit, what else can we do with the tree and the things from the pupunha, the products? So the tree is incredible. You can use everything. You can use the trunk. You can get the internal, the palmito, about 15 centimeters in diameter. It's one of the best quality palm heart. It doesn't have a lot of fiber. It's very firm, but it's smooth. So it's great. And the good thing about it is there are a lot of palm fruit that have palm heart, açaí, but the pupunha tree grows quickly. In 3 years, you can already produce a lot, and you can save some of the forest because a lot of people were cutting down a lot of palm trees down to get the palm heart. So with this, you can grow it quickly. And after 3 years, you already have a crop of palm heart, and it's excellent. It's export quality. Another thing from the trunk. Have you ever heard of paxiúba? The Indians here, the guys from the interior. Anybody know what I'm talking about? One time I gave this speech, and everybody knew it in that church. But when you cut a palm tree, the pupunha tree, you split it down the middle, and you have a half moon, and you can make a flooring of it, and it's all bumpy and everything. The lady can't walk in high heels, so it's all bumpy, all full of ridges. If you lie down, it's a therapy, right? No, it's a punishment. But it's very long-lasting, very strong. Also from the trunk, the Indians, the indigenous peoples, they used to make it the bows and arrows to hunt and to fish. It's also used for furniture. It's a very pretty wood because of the fibers, the fiber structure. It's almost like a black and white alternating color. Also, the fronds, sometimes up to 5 meters long, the palm fronds from the pupunha tree have a lot of fiber, and you can make baskets to go to market and for tourists. So it's good for that. And it's also, did you know that the peel from the fruit that we usually throw away, it actually has a lot of vitamin. It's just as much vitamin as the flesh of the fruit. So they actually, in the Northeast, they dry it and they grind it and they make flour out of it to use to make all kinds of recipes. So it's full of vitamins. And even the coconut, the little kernel in the center, the seed, is also very rich in some restaurants. In the Northeast, they actually boil the nut. So it's very useful. As a child, I had a little problem. I loved pupunha, and I liked to eat the seeds. If you've seen this other palm fruit called tucumã, the nut is very hard, and to take the kernel out of it is very difficult. So you can break your teeth on it. But the seed from the pupunha is much. It's a very thin shell, and if you have strong teeth, you can actually break it, and the meat inside the kernel is very delicious. It's sort of between an almond and Brazil nut, and they use it as condiment and seasoning for some recipes, especially for pork. There is a myth. Yes, there's a legend that here they said that if you ate that fruit, that nut, you would be dumb. It would make you dumb, but that's not true. And that's not true. I ate it all. I loved it, and I would even eat that my friends threw away, and I didn't become so dumb. And later on, I found out that it was the mothers who told that story, so that their kids wouldn't break their teeth so they would tell their kids, if you eat it, it'll make you dumb. It's actually not true. It's full of mineral, and where I grew up, they would tell this story too, but I was always my hunger was larger. Well, better to be full and dumb instead of hungry and intelligent. And they brought special dishes made from pupunha. So we're going to have the privilege of tasting some of these dishes. Moses, come please. Wow, look at that, Pastor. Let's try these, Moses. Wow, they really outdid themselves. That is great. There's hot snacks. There's pupunha pizza. I've never seen pupunha. I'm going to try it. Wow. That's good. A lot of pupunha. This is pudding of pupunha. Oh, that's new. That's new. Let me try it here. All right, I'm going to get the other side. Did you try it, Moses? No. Wow, that's great. There you go, try it. Isn't that great? No. Try some more. I haven't tried the salty snack. Oh, the hors d'oeuvre there is fantastic. And what is this? That's quiche. Quiche of Pupuna. Pupuna quiche. Wow. There's not going to be any left. Now, Moses, the people are tasty. Can you... let me try a little more. Okay, I'm just going to a little bit more. Can you carry both? Otherwise, I'll carry. All right. Let's share with our friend. If you raise your hand, you will get a free sample. All right. Distribute among the people. The people are already salivating. Water in the mouth. And let's have a coffee while he does that. Let's have a little coffee taste. People on the other side, they want some too, Moses. The quiche is delicious. Hey, that's a top shelf dish. Exclusive and expensive. I told the people to treat Moses well. Now you see why. Now's the time too. Pastor, as he's passing that out, I see that Pupuna has a lot of colors. Can you explain a little difference of the colors? All has to do with the genetic makeup of the fruit. We have some that are very yellow, and we have some that are very red. Let me see if there's one that's very red. We have orange. We have green, and we have brown. One time, there's green. Is there black Pupuna? Yes, there are. There's black Pupuna, but it's rotten. It's got fungus that sometimes comes on the fruit. So don't eat that one. But there's a lot of variety because chemically they're very similar, but there's a variety of colors, and it all depends on the genetic makeup of the tree, of the fruit. And I presented you as the theologian of the tennis shoes. Why? It's obvious, eh? Actually, theology in the tennis or sandals goes back to your first question. A lot of times the theologians in the seminaries, they study the Bible as a mental exercise, and it's very intellectual, and they argue and discuss the text, and these are important. They have their place, and they help us understand, but they never get out of the head. It's an intellectual exercise. And the Bible wasn't written, actually, to be just to be discussed among theologians, but the Bible was written as a book of doctrine, and which means these theological facts are actually applied in daily life. And it's like it says in James, it doesn't do you any good if you hear and hear if you don't practice. The true faith is the faith that you practice that makes the difference in your life. So why we call it tennis shoe theology, I understood years ago that the exercise of the mind, the intellectual exercise to always study, only has utility and impact when we put it in our shoes, where our foot hits the rubber meets the road, in your sports, in your relationships, in your career, in your work. It has to be part of your life. God made the Bible as a manual for our life, and not just an intellectual exercise for writing books and books about, but doesn't have utility in our daily life. Okay, I understand. Pastor, changing the subject a little bit, but also in the biblical context, we've been watching startled this war in Europe. Russia invading Ukraine and even threatening nuclear weapons. Does the Bible talk about this in these countries? Yes, it does. The Bible does talk about that. Actually, it's a it's a warning for us. The Bible says that the wise people would understand and know that the time for Jesus to return, the end of the word as we know it, the end of the world, and the new order, not the world order, but Jesus' order. He's going to expel Satan and all his angels, and this time is coming. It's very close. I was reading yesterday in Ezekiel, in the book of Ezekiel, in chapter 38 and 39, he tells us in the end of the times, we're going to have various nations who are going to be the protagonist of the against Israel. Guess who the first one mentioned is Russia. And he talks about the origins of Russia. He talks about the Prince of Moscow, Moscow. So the prince, who's the Prince of Moscow? We already know who that is, Putin. The second protagonist is Iran. It's already allied themselves with Russia. And the third protagonist that the Bible talks about that has an army of 200 million. And guess who the other ally of Russia is? China. And they're not going to interfere. And all of them, there's a couple of others smaller, but these are the principal ones. And all of them against Israel. Ukraine, I don't know if you know, but the president of Ukraine is a Jew. And this is a problem for them. So his some relatives, his grandfather, maybe his father, so 4 or 5 of his relatives, close relatives of his family they died, and some survived the Holocaust of Hitler in the Second World War. So that extermination of when they tried to exterminate the Jews. So all of this is pointing us, read there in Ezekiel, that the moment of Jesus coming back to take his family and to end the world, because right now the world is in the hand of the evil one, but Christ has already destroyed the evil one, and he's only going to depose him and restore it to his rightful throne. So I think it's a warning that we don't have a lot of time, that we have to be wise and redeem the time. Our lives pass very quickly. Did you know that we have enough bombs to destroy 37 times over, destroy the world? So if Russia lets go with a nuclear, then Israel, who has nuclear weapons? Russia, India, China, Iran, maybe they have a little one. Korea North, maybe a cap. United States has nuclear weapons, so if one starts, then everybody is going to have it. They say that Putin has already got his finger on the trigger, and the others are ready with so this is a warning for us. So we're here tonight, Pastor, in this night with Pupuna and the Bible and Pupuna. What's the relationship of this fruit with us? What is this? What's the lesson for us? Let me get this great big Pupuna here that's beautiful. Let me take the kernel out, the nut. It has three parts, actually, the pupunha. It has the peel, which is similar to our body. And inside we have the fruit, which is similar to analogous to our soul, our heart, our reasoning ability, our affections, our memory, our emotions, our choices, our decisions that happens in our mind, and the kernel or the nut, which is analogous to our spirit. Jesus in John chapter 6 and verse 63 says the flesh is very little use. What is important is the spirit, which is the nut, the kernel. It's from the nut that's going to reproduce, that's going to continue the life. So that's why it's the spirit that's important. And the words that I say to you are spirit and they are life. Let me see if we understand this. So what Jesus is saying there, that as we have the fruit here with these three parts, the human also has three parts. You have the body, you have your soul, and you have your spirit. The spirit is the part that God gave from him to Adam when he breathed. The spirit means to breathe. And this is the origin of life. This part here is part of, because of that, a consequence of that. Without the spirit, the body doesn't exist. So the origin of all, Jesus says, is the spirit. The DNA of this nut or this kernel is going to determine what kind of pupunha it's going to be, whether it's going to be yellow or red pupunha or a green pupunha, whether it's going to be more oily or drier. All of that is determined by the DNA, genetic material of the nut. And what about this rotten one here? This pupunha here, it has less immunity and less protections. Some of them, because they have, because of the DNA, they're weaker and they're vulnerable to all of the disease. They don't have the resistance to diseases and the plagues. And that's all a part of the DNA. So humans also has this difficulty. The spirit, when God made humans and then put them in the Garden of Eden, and he breathed his spirit into the man, and men or humans became a living soul. When he did that, he made the human to be his family. The humans would be the family, his family. So that's why he made them in his semblance, in his image. Even in the beginning, he told us this. He made man in his image and likeness. He wanted a relationship, a family. Actually, you can like pupunha, for example. Some people say, I love pupunha, but I'm not going to talk to the pupunha. I don't have a relationship with the pupunha because we don't have anything in common. And God, when he made a human, when he made people and us in his image, he made us like little gods with the qualities of God, but not infinite. We're not omniscient or omnipotent, omnipresent. We are limited, but we're like little gods in the image of God because God wanted us to be compatible with him. In these qualities and characteristics that he gave us, but one of the fundamental characteristics of God is love. He is love. So he also gave to humans the same free choice that he has. And that means that you can choose, you can decide. There was a young man that he really liked a girl. And he asked her out, and maybe they had a date or two, but she didn't like him. She wasn't interested, and so after a while, she saw another guy, and they ended up getting married, and the guy was a jerk, this other guy. He was terrible. He really was. And he even took her to, he was unfaithful to her and did all of the things wrong, and he still took her to, he was just rotten to the core. But the other one who had first gone out with her, and he came to me, he said, he said, if she would have married me, it would have been great. But you can't force. That's true. That's what God gave us, the free choice. And that started in the Garden of Eden. And God gave mankind free choice, and Satan came to Eve. He said, I'll give you another proposition. I'll give you another option. Instead of being friends with God, I'll give you another option. Be independent. You see that spirit in kids even. He wants to go across the street all by himself without holding his mom's hand. That's why it's a proof that God gave us free choice. Rebellion is actually a proof of the right of choice. So humans, in the first couple, we want to be independent. We don't want God to tell us what to do. You keep your distance, and we see that even today. And because of that, God had said to the couple, He respects that. He gave them that right, and they exercised that right. But He said if they chose to be separate from Him, then He would separate from them, and that's called death. Because God is the fountain of life. He's the source, as He says in John 6. So when they made that choice, that decision, God separated Himself from them. They were separated from God, and guess what? And God inhabits in the kernel, in the spirit. And when He disconnected, they became without spirit. And as it gets older, so they were, as it goes and progresses, the disease gets worse and worse. Just as the DNA here in this one produced this pupuna that's all easy to destroy. And you see that today. Teachers today and psychologists, they think that you can recreate yourself by education. Now, actually, education doesn't have that purpose. You have to actually reform a person inside out. You see the little baby, so beautiful, especially when they're sleeping, and then one tooth comes out and they start teething, and the first child, he bites the mother's breast. Nobody taught him. I saw a child the other day hitting the face of his father, and he couldn't do anything. And the father didn't even know what to do with the son. What a shame. How embarrassing. Nobody taught the child to do that. It wasn't the mother who taught the child to hit the father. It comes from inside. And that's why God said, just as humans became defective, the less than 30 years, the first murder and then violence and all that we have today, all of the diseases even that we suffer from, COVID, from a DNA, a spiritual DNA because of the original sin. And it became imperfect and it got worse and worse. Pastor, is it possible to fix it? What can we do? What can we do to get rid of the curse? As the scientists are able to modify the DNA in a plant, we talk about genetically modified to become resistant to the plagues and the fungus, and they get bigger, they get more tasty and larger in size, more oil. Also, the human, the Bible tells us this is the origin, and we can be modified. The spiritual DNA, and that's the story of Christ. We celebrate the coming of Jesus at Christmas time, but it has all to do with this, everything to do with this. And everything was getting worse and worse. So the love that God had for us as humans, He wants us to be His friends, not His enemy. He wants us to be His family, not His enemies. So He came to the world. He wanted to give each one of us the same choice that the first couple had. We would not be victims of the original couple. God, He is actually democratic. Everybody can make their own decision. It's not by the majority rule. And the life is yours. So He gave that choice to you. How did He do that? He left His glory. He left being just a spirit, and He came and He took on the form, the body. And the psalmist says that He cloned a body from Mary. Jesus couldn't have a father. Let me explain why. When a child is conceived and made, becomes a child, there at that moment, the male and female cells come together to form a new spirit. The spirit comes from the sperm from the Father. The Bible tells us that that's why Jesus couldn't have a human father, otherwise He would have had the same defects as us. So He had Mary's. Gabriel tells Mary, you remember in Christmas dream, and the Spirit is going to cover you. And the veterinarians, she was impregnated by God. So the child who will be born, the child will be the man God, 100% God, 100% man. And He lived a perfect life because He is God. He wasn't born with a defective DNA, but He had a spiritual DNA that was perfect. His body could have defect, but His spirit was perfect because He is God. He was God. And after 33 years, not very long away, in Easter, Jesus went to the cross and died. The wages of sin is death when the people separated themselves from God, and Jesus is God. So He went to the cross and He died. And something else that happened is that God separated Himself from His Son. And Jesus said, "My Father, why have you abandoned me?" It says that this was the separation, the worst of all of the punishment. And the Bible tells us talks of Jesus as the second Adam, the infinite. But man, as born of Mary, and God was separated from Jesus, and He went to hell. For us, it was 3 days. For God's time, it was for eternity. And He paid all of our sin, all of our problems. And after 3 days in our time, He resurrected. He arose, and He paid our price. And that's the proves, and that's what we celebrate in Easter, that our payment was made. He made our payment, and that's why He was freed from the grave. He conquered death and the grave, and from then on, Jesus opened the door with His death that humanity could come back and be reconnected to God. So God can give life to whomever He wants. And yes, He has the right to give life to anybody. And He wants to give life. That's why He made you. The Bible tells us that before He made the planet, He designed you before the creation. He decided how you would be, when you would be born, the color of your eyes, how big your feet would be. All of this He decided. Who would be your father, your progenitors, your parents. He decided all of that and designed it, and He even wrote your name in the book of life, and that's why you were born. because he determined that. Now, but he doesn't force. But after his resurrection, the Bible says, whomever has the privilege to make the same decision to Jesus, to God. You can either say yes or no. I want you, or I don't want you. I want to be. Once a doctor said, very well educated, she said, I don't want anybody telling me what to do. So that happens. Adam and Eve, they were on the side of God, and they decided to separate it. And we, because of the curse, we are separated from God. So we can return to God. How can we return? The Bible tells us that this is by faith in Jesus Christ. There's a verse that explains this very well in Romans 10, verses 9 and 10, and he explains what this faith is like. Faith is to believe in the story of Jesus, that even though nations have tried to destroy this story, but the Bible tells us not one iota of this book, one period of this book will be destroyed. So this is no fake news. God has not allowed the world to destroy it. So what does he tell us? In his word, he tells us that faith, you have to believe. The first element, you have to believe in the story of Jesus, that he was God, that he is man, and that he came to fix our problem, that we couldn't, with our own defective spirit, we couldn't help ourselves. It's not by works. It's not let's just putting a Band-Aid on it. Sometimes we can make it look good, but it's rotten in the core. And so he comes and he can insert his spirit in Galatians 4 and 6. Our spirit was made to receive another spirit. So now we can receive the Spirit of Christ, even as Mary received. We can receive the Spirit of Jesus that the Bible talks about as the Holy Spirit, but it's also the Spirit of Jesus. And he comes and inhabits us, and our spirit is perfect. The flesh is nothing, but it's the Spirit. That's why his words are life and spirit. So when you receive this Spirit by faith, you become perfect. Consequently, that's going to change your flesh. Everything is going to change. Everything began to change. My life changed. And finally, even the body is going to change. All consequence of the essential, the Spirit. This is all consequence. Now, going back to Romans chapter 10, verses 9 and 10, so you have to believe in Jesus and that God did this because he loved you, because he was your creator, and he wants to be your savior, but he doesn't force you. And in verse 10, so you believe this in your mind and your heart, but with your mouth you confess Jesus as Lord, chief, boss to salvation. Or in other words, you need to say, God, I want you in my life. Others rejected you, but I want you in my life. I want you to come and enter into my seed, into my spirit. And when that happens, there's going to be changes. The final product is great, fantastic. But what's going to determine everything in your life is not you anymore. You're not independent because you're now dependent. One time I was on an island in the Caribbean, and the tour guide was, the worst thing about this island was when a group of independents from our wanted to be independent from England. And finally, it caught fire, and England gave them independence, and they are just destroyed. Everybody was middle class. Everybody now is poor because the island can't produce. He said they're idiots, these independent people, because they rejected things were coming every month. We needed to be dependent. It was great, and that's our case. You're going to be dependent. You can't be independent and be of God. You say, God, I want you in my life, and He is ultra rich, and He is great. He is good, and when He lives in your life, in your heart, things begin to change radically. Pastor, I think most of the people here, they believe in this story, and I believe that some have been confronted with this truth. And do they need to confess? And the Bible tells us that Jesus, saying in Revelation, even in the end times, He talks